There's rich fodder here.
There is. There were some cracking matches. There was a little bit of also rans as well, but we've endured that throughout the last sort of 4, 5, 6 weeks. But you're getting to the point here now. It's pretty fascinating.
Open us up. The buck stops for Victoria Police, made for more search police careers.
I'm going to individualise. I think that Mark Keane, who is a player that I've coached, and the season that he's had and the pressure that he endured and withstood and handled, over the last couple of months, but in particular in the game on the weekend, I thought was first class. He, just to go back a little bit, he played 4 games with us over a couple of years, excelled at VFL, and then when he took his chance, when the chance came to step up into the AFL, he wasn't quite ready. So he was really green. One thing that we noticed was in that time is that he was still doubting himself a little bit as he was growing into what he's showing us that he can become. So when he lost a contest early in a match, he would often compound. He would start getting grabby against that direct opponent, or in the next time he had the ball in his hands, he was losing his head a little bit. But what it shows you, credit to him first and foremost to be able to take the steps. Credit to Adelaide for being able to persist with him and continue to give him opportunities. Pretty much played every game the last 2 years when available, and it's a little bit about timing as well. As Kingy was asking me off air, how did that come about? That when Mark came back, because he left twice to go back home homesick. The last one was through COVID. He said, how did it come about he didn't come back to Collingwood? The way that I reckon that happens is a player goes, well, I'm not going to go back there because I've walked out on them twice. Can you, to my manager, I'm thinking about coming back to Australia. Can you find somewhere else that might be interested to have me? And that's exactly how that panned out. But what a great story. And now he is pretty much the mainstay, locked in of that back six. It gets the best opposition key forward and makes it hard for them to have an impact. He put Brodie Myercheck to sleep on the weekend amongst the rest of the mix, and it was a very defensive match. But all credit to him and all credit to Adelaide, ready for September tilt.
Salute to Mark Keane. The buck stops, looking for a career that gives you more. Search police careers. Victoria Police, made for more. The big issue is Saturday night's game and all the threads, the way the game was played, how it would look if they played again. The Izak Rankine situation, which is playing out at the moment. The big issue for Oldham construction lawyers, your experts in construction law. Maybe let's start with that issue as it confronts Adelaide today. So there is an AFL integrity investigation. It is an alleged homophobic slur. Best to wait for the facts to be examined and put on the table here. What we know is the league has set a benchmark here. And if it is a homophobic slur that was used, the expectation for all involved is the penalty starts at 4 weeks.
It's if that is proven, if what has been speculated is proven to be correct, it'll be pretty cut and dried. And then in the end, you sort of go back. Okay, well, the league has set its stance on this, and if you are going to be a public figure, and your behaviours are going to be witnessed and acknowledged and absorbed in this society, well, then you're held to account on that. That's been in place for a long time in regards to the way the league would like its people to behave, so that the young people that have got eyeballs on us understands what is acceptable and not acceptable in society. So that's that element of it. If it is proven to be correct, Adelaide will have shot themselves in the foot in some shape or form. Izak Rankine, who's still a young man, will be tremendously disappointed with himself and what he'll put his team through. But then if you zoom out to a bigger picture, I don't think there's been a premier in the history that hasn't gone through its challenges and pitfalls. And they succeeded despite that. Very rarely do you get a team that travels from start to the end without these speed bump moments. So it could well be something that challenges them and brings them back together to continue on their path, because they've got enormous momentum at the moment. It could be something that, that if not handled well, could be something that derails them. that's our job to speak about both ends of the spectrum, I suppose.
So this is a conversation I reckon we'll pick up on Wednesday once we know, and then how a club deals with it, how a player deals with it. It's in the hands of the integrity department at the moment.
Yeah. What sort of timeline are we expecting on it?
You would imagine I would expect it to be done today.
Yeah.
The interviewing of 2 players, the clubs more broadly. And then it depends, is there going to be so these have been summary judgments as opposed to tribunal hearings. Does that alter given where we are in the season and that a player's whole final series is at stake? Or if the facts get established, this is just it. Here it is. There's no mechanism to dance around it.
I'd prefer that every game is important. Every game is crucial. And if you're handing down these verdicts against the individuals that are perpetrated, if what is handed down is dependent on the importance of the game, I say, look, it's all important. It either crosses the threshold or it doesn't. And the AFL have decided what that threshold is and is not. So regardless of how important the games might seem, this should come first. So, and that's got to be that's a true integrity issue, not in terms of whether the game is fair or not, but in integrity in terms of do what you say you're going to do.
Yep.
Stand in behind the way that you want to run this game, and without fear or favour, disperse that penalty.
It'll be a matter of whether the facts are established and agreed upon, or whether there is contention around it. So in the Jack Graham case, it was self-reported, at least to some degree. It ends up as a 4-week suspension on that front. There's no dispute over what happens. So is there dispute here, or will there be a comprehensive finding? That's unanswerable for the time being.
This game, this competition never fails to throw up things that we don't think are going to happen. And we're dealing with humans. We're dealing in high pressure situations. People are going to fall short at different times. But you don't expect to be in this circumstance. So that it'll be an interesting for us to be able to observe how Adelaide deal with it, how the players involved deal with it, and how the AFL deal with it.
The big issue for Oldham Construction Lawyers, your experts in construction law, keeping your home and business in premiership form. So what about the game, Bucks? What did you think of the game?
It was, I thought it was an awesome game of footy. Did you an MMA fan at all?
No, I'm not. It's a bit too real.
Did you know about the UFC fight that took place? So there was a guy that's a gun, Duplessis, or Duplessis. I don't. The guy, people out there that know it will know the pronunciation. The other one's Chimaev. So this new gun, he's a ground and pound guy.
Right.
So he's got a wrestling background, but he's up against this bloke who'd been put on a pedestal, who had a really good balanced fighting style. So the ground and pound guy, apparently 5 seconds in, he was out, just took this guy down, got on top of him, and then just dominated from there. 10 seconds into the second round back. In the end, 21 and a half of the 25 minutes was on the deck in ground and pound trench warfare. So one opponent took the other opponent into a place where he could dominate him. Collingwood took Adelaide into a place where they could be competitive and where they could dominate them. They wanted to go down the line. They wanted to close everything down. So Adelaide, you can't just be this expansive ball use team and do it that way and have these big forwards that are going to do this for you, have an intercepting defence, like a hard-working midfield. You can't expect just to have one style of play and then be able to get it done. They got dragged into a place where it was Collingwood's strength, inside, tough, hard, defensive, no time and space anywhere. So the system and the fight that Craig McRae spoke of last week that wasn't there, and it potentially hadn't been there for parts of their performance against the Gold Coast Suns, parts of Freo, that was there for 4 quarters, and Adelaide stood up. So Adelaide, and to even win by 3 or 4 points in games that they'd lost by the same margin to Collingwood, that they have been real arm wrestle type challenges. So the fact that Adelaide were able to stand up was really positive for them. I said last week about the finals, like it's drier, so it's going to open up. You do need to have that armoury. but you need to be able to handle the trenches. And Adelaide showed they can handle the trenches, but Collingwood, in the same vein, showed that they're going to take teams there in the next 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Like they could end up going back to Adelaide in 2 weeks' time for that first final, the qualifying final. That'll be fascinating because I think this is where Collingwood are going to take you. They're taking you into the trenches. They're going to take you down. They're not going to let it be an open transition type game. And if they can get 71 inside 50s, they're not going to be beaten by many.
Do you think Adelaide would acquiesce to that game again? So I felt like in the end, they were happy to be in that game rather than try to get their way out of it and break the game open.
Well, you can, but for a lot of it, there wasn't a lot of time and space to do that. The first uncontested mark is crucial, and so the first uncontested mark buys you 5 or 6 seconds to decide what you're going to do with the ball next. Now, we'll get to Brisbane eventually, but Brisbane at times are going bang, we're going, we're just going forward. But then they showed in the weekend that no, we'll move you around and then find our gaps. So they've shown a couple of different strategies, but if you can't find that first uncontested mark, it's really hard to know what to do with the next one. So there was less of that, and the conditions fed into that a little bit as well. But Adelaide could be more adventurous. Collingwood could be more adventurous. But in the end, you need to be able to have different modes and different phases in your game, and you need to be able to be proficient at all. And because that's what the test is going to be, because you're going to have teams that are going to try to take you into places that you're not comfortable, and you need to be able to handle it. The journey up to Brisbane and back, the success in his early years, team success, and then to be back where it started, and then playing a selfless role initially with trying to bring this forward line together, and then he becomes, the spearhead again. Through accident, really. It's really, if Mitch Lewis was available, if they'd had their full choice of forward mix, Gunston probably would have played a different role at different times, talking in considering the evolution of this team and where it's going to go. But that's not the way life works. There's always things that shuffle and change, and he's just made the most of it and been brilliant and been coached really well towards it. So his smarts of where to position himself, always gets around behind his defender. So his defender is hard to can't keep an eye on him and the ball at the same time. And a lot of his direct opponents will be trying to intercept the ball, so they're watching the ball first. But he's found a way to compete. He gets on the lead. He's still very quick in that first 3 or 4 steps, which finds space. He's smart on the ground. He's smart enough with his aerial to know when to body a player so that it can actually fall to his advantage, and then he gets on ground ball. If we're talking about Worrell being a tall player who can play ground, like Gunston's probably the equivalent at the other end of the ground. Not competing with he's not dissimilar to a Jeremy Cameron, or Jeremy Cameron gets up the field a little bit, but he's not competing with a Thilthorpe or a Darcy or a King or a Norton or even a Georgiades, maybe a Georgiades, Ben Long. They're the guys that they've probably been playing those similar roles. You could probably even, does an Izak Rankine sort of come in against that role? And as a selector, I can't tell you which way I would go, but he's obviously been right up there in our conversations.
So 33-year-old. So this is the season that Tom Hawkins had in 2022. He was the All-Australian captain that year, where he kicked 67 goals.
Right.
And so after 30, he got better and better, which was weird. The Gunston looked finished when he was at Brisbane.
Yeah.
And then he comes back to Hawthorn sort of for a greater good. But then he has this season. I am in awe of the season that he has put together.
I wonder. There's been examples of this across the league now. So Taylor Walker looked cast.
Yes, that's right.
And he came back, and he's not the physical specimen he was, but he has found a way to work through that, and he's playing some excellent team football. And probably in the last couple of years, played some of his very best football. The fact that we've moved into understanding the experience factor, football smarts, and the fact that you can get your body right and do it and prepare a different way than you did when you were mid-20s. and still be able to step into this game and what the game is asking for and be a significant contributor in and around the guys that do have all of the speed and energy and agility that you had 10 years ago. So there's still a lot of smarts in this game. Scott Pendlebury, if it was an athletic contest, he wouldn't be playing. That's the reality. Yeah. But it's not just an athletic contest. So there's probably and Geelong have displayed it, Collingwood have displayed it. I think it's going to happen more and more because right when guys, you think that they're coming to their, understanding the game as well as they ever have been able to handle the moments emotionally, mentally. Yeah, the physical, the stuff might be the stuff that you can build around and you can find a way to get past if you build your team around a key individual, and that's exactly what we've seen.
It's a good comparison. Tex was 33 in his 2023 season when he's All-Australian with 76 goals.
There you go. And so it does come around, and more and more you're seeing experience actually making a big difference.
And all afternoon, Harry McKay's 7-goal haul, and this is the debate, Bucks, which contestants have enthusiastically launched into. Are you a trader or are you a keeper? If you're a trader, this is heaven sent. This is what he's worth as you go to the market. If you're a keeper, this is why we keep him.
It is. It's a real question, but not all things are equal. What's the TPP position? How much scope do you have outside of that? I just get the sense that, I don't know, if Harry costs 2/3 of what Charlie does, Harry can play multiple roles. I think Harry's the one that you keep because it gives you more wriggle room. You lock him away for a little less. It gives you more space in your cap. I think Carlton have played somewhat energised in the last 3 or 4 weeks. The reasons for that only they know internally. But they've probably gone a little bit younger. They've flicked the roles around a little bit of stability, knowing that the coach is going to be there doesn't hurt. You just don't look a gift horse in the mouth. There's not many blokes that get around and can have 20 touches, kick 7 goals, take a pluck, use the ball relatively well, compete when he needs to compete. So that role is really important in the modern game, and I think that Harry can be a really good key forward who goes into the second ruck in a really good team. So that's probably something that you lock away.
You're a keeper. That's the way it's flown on the text as well.
I must say that like when this same question was there, maybe not 24 months ago, but 18 months ago, I would have gone the same way then. But yeah, they will know more about it because there's got to be a character piece too. And we're just talking about the experience and footy smarts of a Gunston and a Walker. What does it mean when they are in the team? Do they make the people around them better? And Carlton will be more aware of that than anyone else.
And Mark is using the differentiating factor of let's not forget Harry wants to be there and Charlie, it appears like he doesn't.
Well, if we take that as read.
As well. So that's the debate. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just whether you're a trader or a keeper.
I'm a keeper.
PFI. So I felt like this was Geelong yesterday. This was the only read we were going to get on them from the outside. Sydney, a team who just come off a win over the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba. And when Sydney kicked the first 3 goals, you're going, right, this is on. And then by midway through the third term, Geelong had beaten them into submission. Did they have PFI, to your eye, the team that is highly likely now to finish second?
Yeah, not just off that performance for mine. I mean, they've done it again. All credit to them. All credit to Chris Scott. They just find a way of continually producing players in a system that is going to challenge the opposition. And they haven't had to do much the last 5 or 6 weeks, but they've done what they've had to do. I think they've played at their own level. They've played for the most part with an energy that they have imposed on themselves as much as the opposition, and I think that was an important part of it. There's still plenty to work itself out, but they've just done what they've needed to. It's been efficient. It's been methodical. You couldn't, given the draw that they had, you couldn't have done it any differently or any better, and their tests will come. But I've got no concerns about the fact that they'll be more than ready and acquit themselves well. They'll be real hard to beat.
Here was Chris Scott in the aftermath. few fronts yesterday is didn't use Jeremy Cameron as a target at all, so takes that nonsense off the table. Shannon Neal's development continues week on week at the moment. They're multi-pronged up forward. The biggest thing is that they're healthy. While everyone else is grappling with injury, they are in rude health.
They are. So you couldn't have had a campaign that prepares you better. They're going to end up with a double chance. They're going to end up with nominally a home final. If that's against an interstate team at the MCG, well, then there is some form of advantage and a home advantage there. But the thing that I love about it, and I'm besotted with it, is young players that come in and play important roles. And even looking at like the matchup with O'Connor on Heaney and Mullen on Goulden, they're just like, so there's a stopping element to what Geelong have. Geelong have got a stopping element. They can disrupt the opposition. They can defend really well. We know they defend really well. They can, and their attack is, they love this high transition game. You've got Holmes and Smith and these outside runners, Myers, etc., that can get all the way up, all the way back. Guthrie, Henry, they're athletes. They can play this high transition game, but they can stop you at the same time. So they've got a really good balance. I love O'Sullivan off the back. Humphreys is a star. Dempsey off the wing. Manor, who plays as a high forward, gets involved in clearance and then goes forward. There's not that many players that play that role better than he does. And he has just improved and got better and better and better. They've got Cam Guthrie and Mitch Duncan played in the twos. Cam's missed a lot of footy. And Mitch Duncan's now break glass in case of emergency type players, but they're fit, they're healthy, they've qualified well. What better way to go into a September challenge than the way that they are at the moment, given that they were only narrowly defeated by the eventual premier last year. So there's a lot that's going for them. Yeah, it's not ideal because there's a game that you need to win and you haven't been able to stand up and get it done. Brisbane are as professional as they come, but that was a final. That was a qualifying final for them. You're not eliminated, but you know that if you win, that you've given yourself a chance to go into the next week trying to push into top four. That's where Fremantle were at. But to put that type of performance comparatively against their direct opponent on the night, to put that type of performance in would be tremendously disappointing. They have won a lot of footy. They've played a lot of good footy, but they seem to have fallen over right when they've needed to stand up. So if you look at Adelaide's 2 weeks ago against Hawthorn, this week against Collingwood, they have stood up when they've been required to, and they've been able to go about it different ways and win different ways. Fremantle probably haven't displayed that as yet. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
It's like I would expect them to go in underdogs next week against the Dogs. We were saying that the 9th place team this year were going to be bitterly disappointed, and we know it's either the Dogs or Freo. It would be it would be so disappointing for Freo, given the position that they've held. I think the Dogs have actually been outside trying to push their way back up. They've sort of stood up against the bottom 9 teams that haven't quite been able to win against the top 9. But I don't think it would be the depths of we haven't taken that chance again if you're Freo.
They won 12 games last year. They've won 15 this year. So this is the bit they're going to miss because of the two-speed nature of this comp. They're not going to, if they can't get this done, they're not going to get the plaudits for winning 15 games. They might internally do it, but they're not going to get the plaudits for moving to 15 wins. They're going to get the slap for going out the back door twice.
Well, they might internally do it, but I guarantee you it's going to be like fast food. It might feel okay for a little bit, but when it settles, you realise it's not going to land well, and it takes a hit to the psyche of the group because there's everything there for them. It's not as if they're still relatively young. There's still growth in them, and we've probably seen this with Adelaide 2 or 3 years ago. Brisbane, in their growth period to get back where they lost finals, then you need to take the next step. We see that evolution take place continually, but it's not guaranteed, and that last step's the hardest one to take. One thing Mick used to say continually, the hardest, 12th to 11th, everyone will give you. 10th to 9th, everyone will give you. The position that no one will give you is 9th to 8th. The last spot in the finals is the one that everyone's fighting for, that everyone's going for. So that's the hardest jump. The hardest jump is to make that progress into, becoming a finalist.
The Suns coach, the curiosity when you're totally owned by an opponent. They have chronic little brother syndrome.
Yeah, and that happens. They broke the nexus with Brisbane earlier, like only a month back, and they did that in style, and they really set themselves for it. I'm pretty sure they would have had a similar mentality going into this. This is a box that we need to tick, a hurdle that we haven't been able to get over in the past. So there's nothing other than to believe that they would have set themselves for this, which probably makes the performance even more disappointing. Like in the first quarter alone, they gave up 5 scores from centre bounce, 2 goals, 3 from centre bounce. Now, on the Giants side, Callahan, fast feet, like break the space, really good understanding of when to use his hands and when to drive. Cornelio looks like he's up and about. His short speed that made him a really damaging, dangerous player at his best, that's back. And Tom Green, you got that mix, and then O'Halloran's looking after Rowell. So they got the coaching part of it right. They get the setup right, and they were able to break out of centre bounce. They ended up scoring 3 goals, 4 just from centre bounce. The other area of the game that is an outlier, the Giants kicked 4 goals from kick-ins. Like, so if you're Damien Hardwick, yes, you're just a metre off, didn't quite get that, and then it sort of starts compounding. But if you're looking from a tactical perspective, like centre bounce is a strength of ours. Witts, Rowell, Anderson, get some legs in there. Sometimes Humphries, who wasn't there on the weekend. Sometimes it's Took, sometimes it's Flanders. We can get a bit of legs in there and do it. We're normally strong out of there. We got smashed. Gives us a little bit more field position, saves 4 or 5 shots on goal. That changes that part of the game. But geez, we can't be letting sides go end to end on us from kickouts, and we need to tighten the screws there with our team D. And we've seen, if you look after that element against the Giants, then and you take that rebound play from them, then where do they go from there? So teams that are going to play the Giants need to prevent them from being able to do this end-to-end business.
So there's sort of lost, if he'd had it in round 18, I reckon the Hardwick press conference is a bit different. But you can't let too much negativity in the door when you've got 2 to play and the top 4 is still there to be won. Small problems, we'll rectify them, back to it, as opposed to the last year, grow the F up. I thought his demeanour was just told a little bit about the time of year.
Oh, no doubt. And it's all circumstantial. Craig McRae last week, there needed to be a hurry up, and that wasn't that Collingwood's form had been, even though it was 4 or 5, it didn't mean that it had been terrible, but that was a terrible performance. I suppose that's the art part of the coaching, is understanding your group, knowing your group, what they're going to respond to and when. You leave the coach card in the pocket, the wax, the Adam Kingsley halftime against the Swans. I don't know if you can do that any more than once a year.
Yep.
And when it falls flat, what do you do from there? Yeah. So, but that was as good as Giants have played, as much as the Suns were poor.
Buckley's chance, Harry Sheezel's 54. Good on him.
I was actually listening.
It's not really good for him.
Driving in the in the car, listening to the radio, and we were all. I think he was at 47 touches at that stage, and there was 6 minutes to go. And like he's an interesting player, isn't he? Like came on the scene and was clearly the best young talent of the season. Speaks so well, mature, has been used off half-back, half-forward, now through the midfield. He's an extremely good player. He's an excellent player. You see, Wanganeen Miller go past, he's flashy, and he's everyone's talking about him. I think Harry Sheezel is suffering a little bit being at North Melbourne in regards to their lethargy and their stagnance in their development as a team. But there's no questioning his class and his bona fides. He's going to be a great player for a long time, and he's the closest thing I've seen to a Pendles, who just emotional regulation, really strong mental game, really really strong and of clarity of what he's going to do, but tough underneath that. and doesn't have a weakness in his game in terms of how he uses the ball. He'll just continue to grow. He's, in 10 years' time, it wouldn't surprise me if he's a top 5 player over the next 10 years continually.
Yep.
It's just a matter of his side being in contention.
Last week, we both put the Suns into our seedings. We won't make that mistake again.
Well, we're all talking. At that stage, we predicated it on who's more likely to get the double chance, and they still
probably are.
But I won't fall for that again.
All right, what do you want to do?
Just back on Phil Thorpe.
Yeah.
That so Collingwood end up getting a free kick at that next contest anyway. So it's a moot point, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make that point. All right, seedings. Adelaide have reinforced their position at number 1 for me. Geelong have reinforced their position at number 2. So both of those sides look like they have double chances and home finals locked away. Brisbane go back in for me, and Hawthorn are 4. So you basically got to play out, and it's pretty close to a play out game, because the winner of that Brisbane Hawthorn game is very likely to get a double chance. Not guaranteed. Not if it's Hawthorn, but there's a bit riding on that as well, because it means a lot. It means a lot going into September to the difference between 4th and 7th, significant.
I got lost in order last week. Much more intuition this week. For Hawthorn, I like the way they're shaping. Even though they might end up 8th, I like the way they're shaping.
Yep.
I've got Adelaide at 3. I'm not all in on Adelaide.
Okay.
I'd forgotten about that. I've got Geelong at 2, and Brisbane's best is the best. Now, they're only bringing it fortnightly, but if they roll it out for 5 straight weeks, they'll win the flag. So I feel much more comfortable having Brisbane as my 1 seed, even though there's a chance they lose to Hawthorn and finish 6th.